So good morning, everybody. The State Water Board is proud to partner with the Valley Foothill Watershed Collaborative and the Sacramento State's Office of Water Program here today to bring you the LID conference. And, thank you all for being here today. Before we begin in earnest, I would like to read to you some of the information regarding the building. A little obligatory speech we have to give here. So first of all, please look around you now and identify the two exits closest to you. And in some cases, an exit may be behind you. In the event of a fire alarm, we are required to evacuate this room. Please take your valuables with you and do not use the elevators. While staff will endeavor to assist you to the nearest exit, you should also know that you may find the exit door by following the ceiling-mounted exit signs. Evacuees will exit down the stairways and possibly to a relocation site across the street. If you cannot use stairs, you will be directed to a protective vestibule inside a stairwell. Should we have to relocate out of the building, please obey all traffic signs and exercise caution crossing the road. Secondly, we have a few housekeeping details. The drinking fountain and restrooms are located out the doors at the back of the room. So you go out the back and to the left. And then the drinking fountain and restrooms are located on the right. As you go past all the hearing rooms in the back. Food service is also available in the building on the first floor, but lunches for this conference will be served in the Klamath Room, located across the bridgeway, and past the elevators. And as you might imagine, we also strongly encourage recycling efforts in this building. So please look out for the green and tan 3-in-1 containers located outside the doors at the back of the room to recycle your paper, cans, and bottles. And in our case, is off here to the right. So without further ado, Christine, it's your turn.
Greg Bates.
Oh, Greg. Sorry. How about it, Greg?
Thank you. All right. Well, it's the sixth one of these things. We started in 2005 as Dry Creek Conservancy with Placer County. And Dry Creek Conservancy started out in 1995 working on streams. And we were really focused on the fish in the streams and the water quality and so forth. And it took us a few years, oddly, to realize that it was the watershed that we should be thinking about, and because that was really what the stream depended on. And so in 2005, we had our first LID conference in partnership with Placer County. And we had a number of conferences after that that focused on LID, how to do it, trying to figure out what worked, and that sort of thing. And then, we've started to go from just thinking about LID to thinking more about the watershed aspects of management and how LID fits into a larger watershed management strategy. So as everyone here knows, is well aware, it's really complicated to think about watersheds because of all the different political boundaries and special districts and all of those kinds of things and all of the different plans. So I should move this thing, huh? Yeah, so this is our area of focus for the stormwater resource plan and also for the IRWMP, the American River Basin. And it's several hydrological units, several counties, bunch of cities, and then we have these several plans, the IRWMP, SWRP, and a whole bunch of other things. We have a bunch of agencies that some of you are from and all of you have worked with, and things like water quality boards and Department of Water Resources, flood control people, and on and on and on. So it is really a complicated thing to talk about coordinating all of that stuff to manage a watershed. Why would you try and do that? We've had this little bit of poetry on our letterhead since our beginning, and it's why we think is the reason to do it. And I love to read it, so I will. Where do rivers start? In threads, in hills, and gathered to here. But the river is all of it everywhere, all flowing at once, all one place. Which is a really beautiful way of saying that anything you do in a watershed affects the whole watershed. And it isn't really a very new idea. John Wesley Powell in 1890 was talking about watersheds as a way to organize political boundaries. And he argued for that, and when the legislature didn't agree with him, he told them that, gentlemen, you are piling up a heritage of conflict and litigation over water rights, for there is not sufficient water to supply the land, which turned out to be pretty true. In 1995, when we were first getting going, it was after the 1993 Mississippi flood, and FEMA had really started to look at the way that they put investments into flood control, and they went to watershed-based, multi-objective type projects. So it's been talked about for quite some time, and in our Dry Creek FEMA application in 1995, we had a greenway plan, which was a multi-objective corridor throughout the Dry Creek watershed. And Valley Foothill is a new nonprofit, Valley Foothill Watersheds Collaborative, which is sponsored by Dry Creek Conservancy and Sacramento Area Creeks Council and Laguna Creeks Watershed Council, and has a number of partners. We're working in this area, which is essentially the same as the IRWMP and the SWRP, Stormwater Resource Plan. A little smoother boundaries, and our objective is to try and knit together all of the activities that are going on into something that is a little bit more coordinated. So why would you do it? Another way to say it is that we need all of these services, and probably the best way to get them is to think about them in a holistic way. Thinking about it in a holistic way is kind of daunting, it seems to me. What is our objective? To have a holistic watershed management regime. What do we even have in our mind if we're talking about that? I don't know that I don't know that I've ever seen anything that integrated all of the agency activity and local jurisdiction activity into something that had a defined goal in mind. And I think that's really what we're talking about working toward. How would we know if we were doing well? We have a talk later on today about watershed indicators. And that's something that is done in a few other places, and it's something that we could work on here to find out if we are actually making any progress in the conditions in our watersheds to make them better. This is another reason why we might want to do it. So the theme is planning multi-benefit projects for watershed health. And the answer to who's in charge is all of us are in charge as we're working on these projects that we're going to be talking about. So we have a lot of great speakers, and we hope to come to some new conclusions today.
Hi, thanks for all of you who made it here. And what a great day to talk about runoff. And I will promise you that today I'll talk, I'll slip up and I'll use the word stormwater, but what I really mean is stormwater and dry weather runoff when I'm talking throughout the day. But so welcome everybody. My name is Maureen Kerner. I'm a research engineer at the Office of Water Programs at Sac State. As Greg said, historically this conference has had an LID focus, so kind of the site scale, what we can do to mimic natural watershed processes. And it's been great progress with the effort. The region has several new stormwater quality design manuals with LID and hydromodification standards and requirements. And those are projects are getting implemented in that. But this year we wanted to take the step back and maybe like a scale up and kind of look at other watershed management strategies in interest of this kind of holistic watershed health. So you can kind of liken this transition to think globally, act locally, where the think globally is we're thinking of what's in the best interest of our region, and the act locally would be like LID as one of very many tools of things we can do to reach those regional goals. So we've got a lot of presentations today to focus not only on LID, but again, taking that step back and talk about regional planning. And one of the big efforts we've been doing most recently is putting together a stormwater resource plan for the greater Sacramento or the ARB region, and I'll go through that with you later this afternoon. But the speakers that we've chosen today all kind of play into this stormwater resource plan, and I want to give you just a quick overview so you can kind of pick up on the things that they're talking about and take home those messages. So Christine will start. We've chosen plenary speakers. Christine will give you an introduction of those. The first session is the LID implementation and challenges in the ARB region. Dahlia Fadl is here from the city of Sacramento. They are just about ready to release their 2018 Stormwater Quality Design Manual, new version that includes LID standards, hydromodification standards. She'll give you examples of LID, but also from the feedback from the 2015 conference, there was a lot of interest on the operation and maintenance challenges of LID. So she'll talk about her experience with that. Then we're going to open it up. Barbara Washburn from OWEHA has put together a great team of Matt Fries from the State Water Board and Mike Floyd to talk about dry wells, about their benefits. They're really useful in this region. And we were talking about trying to recharge groundwater because of the hard pan soils that we have. But there's some barriers for implementing it, specifically related to permitting and approvals of them. Side note, Tim O'Brien, who is on our agenda, is not able to come today, so he won't be here. The next session is going to focus on examples of multi-benefit projects in the region. So Brian Keating from Placer County Flood Control and Water Conservation District will talk about Antelope Creek, flood control, and other benefits. And then Jay Singh from CBEC Consulting has a project from Coon Creek Watershed with those multi-benefit approaches. As Bill said earlier, we do have a boxed lunch, so that'll be over in the Klamath room. So it's part of your registration for today. And when we come back, we're going to have a session on other regions of what they're doing for stormwater planning and watershed health. Colleen Foster from City of Oceanside is here. They have a really unique program where they've integrated their stormwater planning and refuse waste management programs. And that's particular interest to this region with the statewide trash policy that several of the municipality stormwater permittees are trying to address right now. From UC Davis, we have Claire Napawan. She has a talk about reaching out to communities to get watershed stewardship involvement. And we thought that was, Greg showed a couple of things we're trying to achieve: increase water supply, improve water quality, help control floods. And then there's the community enhancement and the community engagement. And a lot of the agencies and organizations that are out there really focus on kind of these other pieces, the water quality, the water supply, flood control, but the community stewardship is a really important piece. Beth Payne will be here from the State Water Board, and she'll give you examples of some background on stormwater resource plans and examples of what other regions have been doing. Jing Wu from San Francisco Estuary Institute will showcase the Green Planet tool that she developed. And this is a really cool tool that others are using throughout the state for watershed planning. The idea is that you look at these site characteristics like land use and soil type and slope, and you can see where are these great opportunities to put in LID or regional infrastructure projects to achieve multiple benefits. Okay, so then what types of BMPs or what types of projects could you put at those locations? And then there's an optimization component that tells you of those options, which ones are kind of the best bang for your buck. And then Eric Porce from our Office of Water Programs is also here, and he's got a great perspective on all these different efforts when you talk about watershed planning, different scales from on the ground, small scale, what are you going to put where, to the Central Coast watershed management zone planning and other tools in that folks are using. So finally, the last session I get to kick off of coming back into the ARB region, and I'll give you a preview of the Stormwater Resource Plan. Barbara Washburn and Greg Bates from DCC is going to talk about the Dry Creek Aquatic Indicators approach. We thought this was an important piece because, as Greg alluded to before, you're looking at performance assessments. How well are we doing? And these aquatic indicators are really good measures of what's happening on the ground. Are we making a difference? Angela Calderaro is here from Department of Fish and Wildlife, talking about opportunities for emerging stream maintenance projects that have flood control, infrastructure protection, bank stabilization, and habitat mitigation potential. And those could be good examples of stormwater resource plan projects. And Grant Fogg from UC Davis will be coming to talk about the barriers, but also work that's being done regarding groundwater recharge. So you talk about surface infiltration, but there's a lot of missing data of the deeper subsurface of when and exactly how is that water getting into groundwater or the groundwater tables and that. So he'll fill us in on that. There is a mixer in the afternoon or after the session at about 4:45 at the Capitol Hop Shop, and I think Christine will tell you more about that. So welcome everybody, and thank you so much to the State Board and Bill Harris for helping organize today.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming out in the weather to get here today. We are waiting for one of our plenary speakers. Vice Chair Stephen Moore is running a little bit late in the weather, but what I'd like to do is get started. We've done a great job with getting you a variety of speakers today. I think with the plenary we have three great minds and leaders in the world of water. Watershed management, as well as a few other things, quite an eclectic group. I'll go ahead and give you just a little bit of background about the three speakers, and we'll kind of reverse order. Vice Chair Moore was going to be our first speaker, but we'll have him at the end, and we'll go ahead and get started. Vice Chair Moore was first appointed to the board by Governor Brown in 2012, and he was elected as vice chair in 2017. He's previously served on the San Francisco Regional Water Board from 2008 to 2012 under both the Brown and Schwarzenegger administrations, and he's held staff positions at the Regional Water Board at various times between 1992 and 2006. Between 1989 and 2012, he worked over 10 years as an engineering consultant. He's done permitting, he's done water infrastructure, has worked on the ground. He has experience both obtaining discharge permits, wetland permits, clean water grants, and he's also led the basin planning for the Regional Water Board from 2002 through 2006. So I think he will bring a very good perspective to the panel. Tim Van Linsky is a life scientist retired from EPA, and he's a board member of Friends of Saucel Creek. He brings a unique perspective as well. He's been protecting and restoring urban creeks since 1980. In his youth, he spearheaded a drive here at Sacramento Arcade Creek to restore oak woodlands. After earning his degree in environmental planning from UC Davis, he served 27 years at the Environmental Protection Agency. He supervised wetland regulatory programs until he retired in 2016 as manager of the Bay Delta program. His full bio is in the program as well. He currently serves on the board of Friends of Saucel Creek, and he's volunteering here in Sacramento with Sacramento Area Creeks Council, again, doing projects along Arcade Creek. And then we also have Andy Lipkus, founder and president of Tree People. He's a practical visionary. He's dedicated his life to the environment. He founded Tree People in Los Angeles in 1973 at the age of 18 and continues to serve as its president. He spearheaded an approach of building collaborations amongst infrastructure agencies and communities by employing trees, forest-inspired technologies, and people power. He's looking at mitigating floods, drought, pollution, extreme heat, and the approach is being demonstrated in LA as a model for cities everywhere. In 2014, he was named EPA's Green Infrastructure Collaborative, where he was representing LA's multi-agency collaborative. Again, his full bio is in the program, and again, Andy is going to be bringing us a perspective from LA and how a collaborative approach can work. So with that, I'm going to, would you hit one more slide? We're going to go ahead and we have our panelists. We're going to go ahead and get started with Andy. I'm sorry, with Tim. I'm sorry, Tim. We're going to go ahead and get started with Tim, and then we'll have Andy do his presentation. We're going to have questions at the end, unless there's just one or two brief questions that you want to ask at the end of his presentation, and we'll have all three panelists stay through the end. I'll time.
Thank you, Christine. Thanks, everybody, for braving the weather. And let's see, I want to just make sure I do want to make sure I got my little pointer here if I need it. Okay. Okay. I was thinking about what I was going to talk about. These are three of my favorite subjects. So today, my presentation today is, as Maureen talked about, we're going to start